It involves some of my favourite meats. I've got bacon that goes in there. It involves a sausage, and I've got a couple here.
Yep.
And it involves confit duck, which is basically duck leg that's been salted for about 2 hours to draw all that moisture out of it, and then you cook the duck in duck fat and its own juices. Nice and low and slow. Believe me, it is a beautiful dish. Now you can confit the duck yourself, or you can buy some of this confit duck, which is just as good. And even inside there are some of the juices from the duck, which we will use in this dish. What I'm going to get you to do is the zucchini here. If you can cut it down the middle, head and tail it, and cut it into nice big dice. Tomato there as well, chop that up nice and fine. I've got some oregano here and some thyme, chop that up as well. Now what I'm going to do is take the fat off the speck here, and I'm going to use this rind here to flavour the whole dish. This does not go in the bin. This is really important. Pop it into the pan here, and you can hear that sizzle already.
Richo's anthem when he walks in the room.
I'm feeling better already. Before I was feeling a little bit flat, but right now I'm just feeling really, really good. Now, just about every village and every town in France has its own version of this dish, so you can probably feel free in making your own and not feeling like you're ripping anyone off. You're actually doing your own version, and that's okay with me. Now, what I'm going to do is cut this speck up into a nice chunky dice, because this is going to cook for quite some time. So we want to make sure that it's nice and chunky like this,
That is
and it'll
chunky.
hold up. In it goes into the pan. What I'm going to do with this sausage is cut it into nice thick chunks here. Now you can go down to your butcher, tell him you're making a cassoulet, and he'll recommend any sort of sausage. A French sausage is good, but you know what? We're in Australia, we're multicultural, so you can feel comfortable in using just about any sausage that comes your way. And I'm going to use the fats from the sausage to render down and flavour everything. You like it? It smells great already, doesn't it?
Oh, it smells delicious.
And
Do you know what? I knew we were going to be French. You were going to utilise this opportunity to put as much meat in one pan as possible.
You better believe it. And in with the meat goes 3 bay leaves and some duck fat. When you do cook duck, there's often a little bit of fat left over, so you want to save that fat, and you can use it for any sort of cooking. Now what I'm going to do is crush this garlic here and get some onion in there. And over there, if you want to do this marjoram this time, if you want to pick that and chop that up, and I'll get that in as well. So with the onion, I'm going to slice it nice and fine all the way through the centre here, and then cut a nice little fine dice. What we're going to do is sweat all this stuff off together in the pot so it becomes nice and flavoursome and delicious. It's almost like a French-style casserole. Now in goes the onions, and it's smelling gorgeous, isn't it? It's
It
smelling.
is. It does smell good.
Now the thyme here, I'm just going to cut it all the way through here. These are the nice tender leaves of thyme. So I'm going to leave a bit of stalk on there, because I know as they cook they'll become nice and tender. Now I normally add a lot of salt and pepper, but I know the sausage and the bacon here are quite salty, so I don't want to have too much in there. So a good twist of pepper in there as well. And what I'm going to do is turn that around a couple of times. It doesn't take very long to get those onions to soften up, and as they soften up, all those flavours come together. A minute or so, we'll add some white wine and the zucchini and the tomatoes, and we'll be just about ready to finish it off. Rosie, it looks like it's cooked down beautifully, and I'm going to add the zucchini and tomato. There we go.
The veggies in there. I'll help you.
That's it. There we go. And I'll just stir that in nice and carefully. Now I'm going to add some jelly. This is the jelly left over from the confit duck, and you usually find it in the packet. It is full of flavour, so make sure you don't throw it away. I'm also going to add a little splush of white wine, because we need white wine, and just to make sure it's delicious.
Very good.
That's very delicious. Yep.
Excellent.
Really important you make sure your wine's good. In goes some chopped tomatoes. Now normally when you make a cassoulet you only use white beans. I'm using velouté beans that I've soaked overnight and cooked. These are delicious, and they're just about cooked, so I'm going to put them in here. They help to thicken everything up, and just for a bit more flavour, I've got some stock. You can use chicken stock, duck stock, or even water. Now what I'm going to do, let it simmer away for about half an hour, 45 minutes, so it thickens up a little bit, and then we'll put the confit duck straight on top of it, some breadcrumbs on top that have got some lemon, some parsley, and some duck fat mixed through it, into the oven so it cooks nice and slowly, goes crusty on top, and then we'll be ready to eat it. Now Now, Rosie, you can see it's reduced down nicely. The sauce is thickened up. I reckon the beans have opened up a little bit and let some of their starch out. It's looking gorgeous as it is now. And it's important to get the sauce right because the next stage is really important. What we're going to do is take our confit duck leg and pop it straight on top there. The duck's already cooked through, so what we want to do is heat it up in the sauce and get it nice and flavoursome. Now, a pot like this will hold 6, maybe even 8 duck legs if you want to.
That would be very snuggly. Very snuggly ducks.
It would. Now, this is the most important part, the breadcrumbs on top. Just sprinkle it on the top very, very gently. You want to form a crust on top, and that's really important for a good cassoulet, and that helps to thicken the sauce up even more. Now, what I'm going to do, Rosie, is pop this into the oven, about 200 degrees Celsius. It's going to have some top heat on it, and once it's browned off, we'll take it out, let it sit here for a couple of minutes, and then scoop out a beautiful cassoulet of duck leg with beans and breadcrumbs. This will be delicious. Into the oven we go. Now, Rosie, it didn't take long in a nice hot oven to get that beautiful crust on the top of it. But I did do a couple of things that weren't quite traditional, the zucchini and using borlotti beans. But I'll tell you what, the thing that is traditional, and that's where the cassoulet gets its name, is this dish here. It's called a cassole, and it's got its sloped sides like this and open at the top. This is how you would normally cook and serve your cassoulet.
Ceramics to be proud of, that one.
Exactly, and that's what I'm going to do. A nice big spoon here. I'm just going to rip this out. Look at that. Look at that duck leg. Pop it on the side there. And I'm going to grab some of the sausage and the ham and some of that liquid there and a few of the beans as well. This is a real hearty style dish, and you can tell if you were sitting somewhere in the south of France where this comes from, you'd be really happy. Now, I'm just going to hook into it and have a taste of it.
I know.
Here we go.
It's extremely wholesome, isn't it? Like, this is slow cooking.
Look at that.
This is French style. Exactly how you've been trained as well. You enjoy cooking this sort of food, don't you?
This is the sort of stuff that my family would cook for me. Delicious, wholesome, and very, very tasty. Rosie, that is good.
I like seeing that.